Hello. Welcome to the May 2023 Metaphysical Talk. This month it is going to be on the Akashic Records. I want to answer questions and help people understand what the Akashic Records are. Before I get into that, I just want to say thank you again for being a loyal patron here on my Patreon channel. It means so much to me that you are interested in the things that I'm interested in and that you are interested in hearing from me what these things are, and I just very much appreciate it. I would like to humbly ask that if you know anyone who might be interested in this content, that you let them know about this channel. You can also find some information, some videos, things like that on YouTube, and as always, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you so much. So, the Akashic Records. So for those of you who do not know what the Akashic Records are, just an overview first is what I'm going to do. The Akashic Records are a compilation, and just for practical purposes, we're going to imagine that it looks like a library, okay? That has all events, intent, thought, ideas, things that happen in your life experience for all life forms, all people, all trees, all elementals, all animals, all life forms, all entities have Akashic Records. On top of that, there are Akashic Records for businesses, for relationships, for your pets, for rocks. You know, if you want to visit the Akashic Records for one of your favorite crystals, you can do that, which is pretty awesome. Every lifetime that I've ever lived is contained in my Akashic Records. So the lifetime where I was a speck of dust, that's in my Akashic Records. The lifetime where I was a rock in the bottom of a river, or a tree, or an animal, or anytime I was a person, every single thing I ever did, ever said, ever thought. Okay, so it's a rich, incredibly intricate place to get information and to gather information. We all have an Akashic record. Loosely translated from Sanskrit, it means, let me put my glasses on, that which holds all. So the Sanskrit of Akashic Records, what that means is that which holds everything. And it does, it holds everything. So you can access records from the past or the future. And the reason is because remember that at a certain dimension, there is no time. And so if there's no time, then it all is existing all at one time. And if that's true, then we can access anything that we've ever been and anything that we're ever going to be. And in fact, there are plenty of examples of metaphysicians who have done all different kinds of work who have been able to access information through the Akashic Records about the future, about future lifetimes, about, and that's why some people who are very, very sensitive and very talented can tell you, oh, well, this is what is going to happen in 6 months. This is what's going to happen in a year. I am not one of those people. I am very sensitive, but I'm not sensitive in that way. One of the more interesting aspects of the Akashic Records, in my opinion, is that I can visit the Akashic Records of my business. I can visit the Akashic Records of Color of Kismet. And that's really exciting to me because I can go visit somebody who knows how to read the Akashic Records, and I can go into the records for my business. I can go into the records for my dog, and I have. I can go into the records for my son, and I have. One of the things that's important to know ethically is that you may not enter the records for someone without their permission. So when I entered the records for my child, they were very young and they were having trouble around something that seemed really unusual. And I was trying to figure out how to help them and how to move forward without shaming, pushing, that kind of thing. And so that's the single time that I have opened my child's records, was to help understand that. And in fact, I learned quite a bit. I learned that in a past life, there was an accident and a subsequent death on a horse. And, at the end of the day, my child was very nervous about being on a bicycle, like unusually nervous. And that's why. There was a past life where he died on a horse accident. So in any case, that was very helpful for me, and I didn't push it, and I am letting them guide the way that they want to do bicycles and scooters and horses and all things like that, because ultimately it's their choice. So the Akashic records are energetic records. They are etheric records. They do not exist on the third dimension. They exist in a higher dimension. They are actually a specific frequency that in order to read the Akashic records, you must be able to attain or find that frequency. It's not something that exists here on Earth in a third dimensional way. We hold them personally in our soul star chakra. And if you don't know where that is, it's about 6 inches above your head. And everybody has one. All humans have one. And that is where we hold our Akashic records. Our Akashic records are surrounded by sacred geometry. They are impenetrable and indestructible. The sacred geometry that surrounds our Akashic records is called Metatron's cube. If you've never seen it, you should look it up. It's beautiful. It's very multidimensional and has many, many aspects of protection within it. Metatron is an archangel that used to be human that became an archangel. Metatron is the scribe for all people, entities, things. All Akashic records fall under Metatron's purview. If you want to know more about Metatron, I suggest you look them up, because there's a lot of interesting information about Metatron out there. Let's see. Who can access the Akashic records? Well, there's several ways that these kinds of gifts come about. And this is true for psychic ability. This is true for some types of Reiki, probably all types of Reiki. Some people, it comes by spontaneously. Those are the lucky ones, in my opinion. I've been spontaneously attuned to a couple of things, and one of them was the Akashic records. And so I'm going to speak a little bit to that. But most people, and in fact, most things, most of us have to train to be able to access. So, for example, for Reiki, I had to take training, and it was no big deal. I got attuned. It was great. I learned a lot. I use it every single day. And then there were other people in my classes that had been spontaneously attuned and had probably been using Reiki for a very long time. I wasn't one of those people. However, I bought, and I have it right here to show you, I bought an obsidian mirror. If you don't know what an obsidian mirror is, they've been used for thousands of years. Let me unwrap it. It looks just like this. So you can get them in various sizes, okay? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time. It's very sacred to me, so I keep it wrapped up and out of view. For people that come into my home, like, people don't really get to see it. You know, this is mine, and it's very special. I've been interested in obsidian mirrors for a really long time. I am fascinated with Nostradamus. Nostradamus used an obsidian mirror, and he is famous for just incredible psychic ability, incredible intuition, ability to jump from one place to another, from one time to another. And there's a lot of really great information out there about him, but he used an obsidian mirror. And ever since I started learning about him, I was just really fascinated with them. And I've always sort of had one on my checklist. They're very expensive, and so not all that accessible. There's a great rock shop in the town where I live. And periodically I would ask, you know, is this something that you get? Is this something that you think you might get? And she'd be like, yeah, we have one. It's $1 million, you know, or something, some amount that was out of my reach. And this is a small one. And I don't know, it's probably 6 or 8 inches in diameter. Yeah, in diameter. And it was something that I could afford. And one day I went in there and I was like, oh my gosh, you have an obsidian mirror, and I'm going to take it home. And it took a while for me to get to know this particular tool. I still don't feel like I know it all that well. I feel like I might actually get in trouble for having shown it on this video, but I wanted you guys to see what they look like. I have used it a few times. I like to go into trance, to go into meditation and get into a really good place. I go into trance and then I use it. Well, the first time that I did this, and I did it, I was very methodic about the way that I honored it, as I honor all of my tools. And suddenly I found myself in a library, and there was a man, and he was there, and I don't remember what he said now. I wrote everything down. And I asked, am I in the Hall of Records? He said, yes. What would you like to know? And I was floored because I've never been trained for this. I don't know how to do it. I don't know the right way. But what I had done was I found the frequency without even knowing it. I just found it. So again, the records are on a frequency, and you have to just be able to get there. And I don't know how I got there. It's not like I can say, this is what you should do. This is how you can get there. Your best bet is to take a class, you know. Your second best bet is to read a book that teaches you how. I have since been reading a book that teaches you how, because I didn't want to misuse any of the things because I don't know all the rules, you know. I haven't known all the rules or all the ethics or anything like that, and I didn't want to overstep. So I've since been reading a book. I might even take a class. I don't know. But right now I feel okay with what I'm doing. So know that with persistence and with growth, with willingness, openness, devotion, you will get spontaneously attuned to different things. I don't know what. We're all different, but it does happen, and it happens semi-frequently, I think, to people. I also wanted to talk a little bit about why it can often look like a library. So when you open the records, it often will look like a hall or a room or a library. And what I've come to understand about that is that it looks that way because that's our perception. That's what we're used to. We're used to walking into a library and it being full of books and full of maps and full of information. And that's sort of the filter that we look through in order to find out information. I have a feeling that might evolve over time, especially for younger kids who the truth is, when I was in college, we had to go to the library for everything. For every single piece of information you needed, you had to go to the library. It's not true anymore. You can get on your phone, you can get on your laptop and access information that's at the library. You don't have to park. You don't have to pay for parking. You don't have to do any of that. You can just access it on your laptop or on your phone. And so I've wondered if the Hall of Records will evolve as, the view, like how we view information gathering, how that evolves. I'm sure that hundreds of years ago, before there were libraries you could walk into, it looked different. It might have been a room of stone tablets that people walked into. So understand that the records look like what our perception is of what the place should look like. So for me, there was a table and the guy standing there, and there was all this information behind him. That's the way it looked for me. I don't know what it looks like for other people. It might look different for you. And I just think that's interesting that our filters, of course, dictate the way that we understand things. And in fact, I think I might have talked about this before, but when you're channeling something, or when someone's channeling something, you're only as the channel has intellect and has a brain, right? That they use, they have learned things. The entity that is coming through has to use all of the understanding and the language and the filters that the person has. So the best channels are going to be people who are very multifaceted, who know lots about mathematics, science, writing, vocabulary, travel. If the more they know, sort of a pantamath, if you will, the more accessible information is going to be, the easier it's going to be for things to come through the channel. Now, certainly there are plenty of times where words come out and that kind of thing that you've never heard before, or concepts that you've never heard before. I've been channeling before and I've seen trees that I've never ever seen before, but I can draw the trees. I can Google the trees. I can look up, what kind of trees those are. In fact, in that particular instance, they were olive trees. Well, I don't live in a place where there are olive trees. So that was something that came through that I know wasn't me, but still I knew it was a tree and I knew how to figure out the answer. So hopefully that makes sense. There are lots and lots and lots of people who are teaching training, who are teaching people how to access Akashic records. And remember that essentially they're teaching you how to find the frequency over and over. One thing I do understand from the book that I'm reading is that repetitiveness, doing it the same way every time, really does matter. I'm glad that I wrote down all of the things that I said and did the first time, because it's enabled me to go back and do it the same way every time so that I can access the records every time. Now, please understand that every time I use the mirror, I do not access the records. But when I go through those particular steps, I can. I just happened to stumble upon that frequency. I didn't even have that intention when I started out. So, if this is something that interests you, I have found a lot of help in going to visit someone who that's their job. They read the Akashic records for people. And I've done it 3 or 4 times when I needed assistance or guidance with my child, with my business, just in my personal life. Lots of times people will do it if they suspect they're with a twin flame or with someone that they have a long history with, throughout many lifetimes. They might seek out an Akashic Records reading, just to give them insight on what's going on. Because sometimes, often we carry karma with people, and it can be really beautiful to find out what our roles were in other lifetimes, that are fueling the events that are happening in this one. I would love to hear questions that you may have about the Akashic Records. I would love to hear any comments that you have about this talk. I appreciate you listening. And I don't think I mentioned at the very beginning, but I am Angelyn Nicholson, and I am the owner and creator of Color of Kismet. Please visit our website if you're interested in other vibrational and frequency tools that can help you along your journey. See you soon.